go. And Sam's Tight Pants also says, Georgia voter here, early voting starts today. Check out mvp.sos.ga.gov to look up your polling location or sample ballot.
mvp.sos. I mean, it's like they're trying to make it as difficult as possible, which would not be shocking in Georgia.
How about go buy a URL that says Georgia voting?
We know how to do this, but that literally might be part of it. They want to make voting as hard as possible.
We have VPN then too.
We're going to get into this in the fun half, but there is so many different mixed signals, it feels like to me, as to what is happening with this election that I can't even, the New York Times Siena poll shows an increasing advantage to Republicans in the generic ballot. But then the AP poll says that that something like 70% of Americans see this as one of the most important elections of their lifetime, and Democrats have a 4% advantage in that one. The generic poll seems to be a shift of independents who are moving towards the Republicans, ostensibly because gas prices and inflation is still up there. And of course, the inflation stuff is it is price gouging. And, the one thing that Warnock did well, and I covered the debate for the first time ever, I streamed OBS and put up the chat on the side, and it was very exciting for people. I don't know if it was that exciting for people.
Got a lot of views.
But Warnock, in the debate, and like I said on the stream, it felt like at the end that Warnock had counted on Walker imploding, and they didn't have a plan B. And I don't know at what point in the debate do you get a sense that that Walker's not going to implode. I mean, 60-second answers, right, is the longest answer they were allowed. I mean, so at one point you got to contemplate, like, what if he can just go 60 seconds? And he can. Yeah. I mean, and he had learned a couple of things by rote and this and that.
And he's a public speaker. Right?
Yes. And
an athlete, who understands how when I'm going to hit these notes and I'm going to remember and I'm going to perform and I'm not scared about any kind of high pressure situation, that was the case. It seemed like he had a strategy coming in, and Warnock just wanted to play prevent defense, and he wanted to look senatorial. That's what stuck out to me, which is such bad Democratic consultant
DC influence
logic. Yes. Always that kind of prevent defense.
And the idea that there wasn't a plan B, and that they couldn't have been more aggressive with his lying about the abortion. Even if he had said, I respect your position on wanting to ban all abortion, which, obviously is one of those, it's not really, but I'll say it. But it's that you've been lying and hypocritical about it that I think bothers most people. And it even bothers your family. Just a line like that or two that would have been the one that was repeated over and over again.
Your son said you were a liar.
I mean, I don't know if I would go that specific, honestly, because you don't need to.
Right.
And you don't want to be, and I can understand walking a certain line, but, they may have some type of theory that, with two black candidates, that the one who's going to seem more, above the fray is better. But I just don't think they did enough to press the point. But it remains to be seen, because no one's not asking Herschel Walker these questions. And, we just got that note in Georgia. Gas prices are around $3.20, according to Sam's Tight Pants. And if that is the case, it's on the lower side of where it is. Maybe the pressure's not, maybe abortion gets to the forefront. It's just very hard to know at this point. But here is Herschel Walker doing a one-on-one. This is with on the Today Show with Kristen Welker. And the idea of this is not so much, in my mind, it is both to remind people that Herschel Walker may not be as trustworthy of a guy, although they haven't seemed to push that narrative. At least they didn't during the debate. But the idea is maybe to remind people of his abortion stance, I don't have a sense. But here is Welker pushing Walker.
In a one-on-one interview in his hometown of Wrightsville, Georgia, Herschel Walker providing his most extensive comments about allegations he paid for an ex-girlfriend to have an abortion in 2009.
Why not reach out to her? And
Why should I? Why do I need to?
NBC News has now spoken to that former girlfriend who provided us with what she says is a copy of a $700 check that Walker gave her to pay for the abortion and a receipt from the medical center in Georgia where she alleges it took place. NBC News is not revealing the woman's identity or the documents to protect the privacy of all parties, but we did show a copy of the check to Walker, who said the allegation he paid for an abortion isn't true.
This is still a lie because she's the mother of my child. So you're going to see me a check or somebody giving a check. So that I'm saying it's a lie.
do you know what this $700 check
I have
is
no
for?
idea what that can be for.
Is that your signature on the check, though?
Let me see. It could be. But it doesn't matter whether it's my signature or not.
When pressed, Walker said definitively for the first time the check is his.
Yes, that's my check.
Why should voters believe you in this?
Voters
moment?
should
Your
believe
work.
me because I've been very transparent about everything I've ever done.
He has also faced allegations.
But I'll tell you what's frustrating about this to me. First off, the question should be, she is the mother of one of your children, and and if I'm not mistaken, she became the mother of his child after the first abortion, right? I mean, so the idea that he's sending money to her, that's an easy thing for Welker to bring up. The other is that the accusation of him being untrue is being delivered by his son, who, by making himself so public at the beginning of this campaign, is fair game to quote. I mean, it's one thing for, Warnock to not want to do it because he doesn't want to be, but this is what the media in this instance should be doing. Christian Walker made himself part of this campaign. He was almost in some ways more visible in certain quarters than even Walker was at the beginning of the campaign.
She does. Do you want to see more where they talk about Christian?
Yes,
okay.
let's hear that.
Of domestic violence from multiple women, including his ex-wife and his 23-year-old son, Christian, a conservative influencer.
He said, and I'll just quote for you, "You threatened to kill us and had us move over 6 times in 6 months, running from your violence." You have said you love your son, Christian.
Right.
Just for the voters who want to hear an answer to the allegation about violence.
Okay,
Is that true?
I'm telling you,
What should people
voters,
know?
I would say I love my son Christian. I love my whole family. I will always love them and stuff. That's what I say for my son Christian. And I don't have any violence.
Walker has also faced.
Wow, that really hammered him on that. That was.
And
I
just,
love my son and stuff.
just the timeline from the New York Times here. A woman who has said Herschel Walker, the Republican Senate nominee in Georgia, paid for abortion in 2009, told the New York Times that he urged her to terminate a second pregnancy 2 years later. They ended their relationship after she refused.
Right. I mean, the idea that he says, well, she's the mother of my child, I'm sending her
You wanted her
checks.
to abort that one.
Well, that one, first off, that check was written 2 years before she was the mother of your child. And speaking of mother of your child, she's claiming you said you wanted that one aborted. I mean, this is not rocket science.
The more I see that, the more annoyed I am about Friday, because I just feel that, Democrats, it seems like traditional old Democratic playbook where they are afraid to engage in politics to that degree because it makes them, it's like beneath the dignity of the office, and it's this kind of heralding of the Senate or of institutions at the expense of actually doing politics, because that was not emphasized enough on Friday. And then on Sunday, when Walker didn't show up to that second debate, that's when Warnock was getting a little bit more aggressive and pointing things out. And then you look, pardon my French, chicken shit because he's not on stage next to you.
Yep.
And I don't know how much this makes a difference, but it certainly did not help Warnock. And seeing them next to each other on stage, it's just like, damn, these stakes are high. This guy could be a U.S. senator. And it was just a reminder of, wow, this is really in play. And there's a lot at stake here, not just based on the merits of the individual Senate seat, but because this could be the seat that flips it to the Republicans.
Yep. The idea that, if your opponent is doing damage to themselves, let them, don't get in the way. First off, it fundamentally misunderstands the relationship between Republican candidates and Republican voters. And it also fundamentally misunderstands the nature of our media system now. Mm-hmm. And it feels like Democrats are still a 20-year operating under the rules that existed 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe even closer to 30 years ago.